Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I wanted to talk to you about really important stuff tonight. One of them is, again, Israel killing another one of its prisoners held in Gaza by one of the Palestinian groups. And the other topics are related to Blinken, Russia, Ukraine, and the latest developments on the ground. But I'm going to start off with Blinken and America. They again approved without Congress, obviously, without Congress approval, they bypassed the Congress to provide Israel with tank shells. And it's really important to highlight, and I know, some people will take it as if it's normal, but we must reiterate again here. You have a government bypassing the Congress that was elected by the people to do something that the people do not want. I mean, this is something that everyone should be talking about. This should spark a conversation and an outrage. These bypass laws that governments have, whether it comes to security, funds, money, draconian laws, these are outrageous things. I mean, how is this even possible? You're talking about like a massive cartel doing whatever the hell they want to do with people's money against people's will. I mean, we've seen the American population and how much they've become more pro-Palestinian since the war started, and how much they're resisting the Israeli genocide and crimes against humanity. I have people from America constantly telling me we're against our government and what they're doing. They do not represent us. Many people feel ashamed of their government. And this should really spark a bigger outrage. And not many people are talking about this enough. These people are bypassing the Congress. They have their own laws. They've obviously introduced draconian laws since the 9/11 false flag. And they do whatever the hell they want to do without going back to the people. No laws, no nothing. It's as if a cartel is controlling you. You might as well be in one of those neighborhoods where cartels run it, but at a larger scale. So I had to put that in. The second thing I wanted to talk about is there was a report apparently about like Russian jets. Some people even commented on my videos, have you heard about the Russian jet in Israel? That's not true. Russia hasn't sent any jets to Israel. No confirmation has been made, neither from Russia nor from Israel nor from independent verified sources. That didn't happen. What did happen is the corrupt little puppet of Ukraine, Zelensky, basically attacked a Russian ship a couple of days ago in Crimea. And the only thing we saw is a massive retaliation from Russia. Many reported it to be the biggest since the ground invasion started. Apparently 158 Kinjal missiles, direct missiles, Shahed drones provided by Iran were launched at many Ukrainian cities. And that's what the Ukrainians reported, obviously. And I think he made that because he didn't like the fact that Gaza was taking more attention from him, and he's having problems channeling more money to Ukraine. Obviously have his feuds with European countries who are against this ongoing corruption that's going on. And he's clearly upset about it. So he wants to have attention back. It's like, what do you think you're going to do with Russia? Many people know by now that many of the weapons you receive from the West are being sold to third parties that the Western governments don't sell to directly. And we all know how, in terms of government, obviously I'm not talking about the people here, Ukraine is one of the most corrupt governments and regimes in Europe. It's well known. And that didn't change with the 2014 revolution. And it's still the same. So the guy's unhappy. And ironically, he previously, for those of you who don't know, he refused to support a ceasefire in Gaza. And he sided with Israel and compared Hamas to Russia. Imagine this guy. You're saying that your country is invaded, yet you support the invaders in another land. And obviously, again, I must reiterate, we support the Ukrainian people and we support everyone oppressed in the world, but not the corrupt puppets who profiteer on wars and basically act as beggars to receive money and continue an endless war that the Ukrainian people are not benefiting from. I mean, everyone knows by now how Ukraine is used as a Western proxy against Russia, because the West and America particularly have constantly expanded towards Russia in contradiction to what they promised Russia after the fall of the Soviet Union. So in short, the guy is not happy. He wants some more attention, but there were no jets in Israel from Russia, saying that the only major event that happened between Israel and Russia was, I think it was last year, Russia used its air defense systems, S-300, against Israeli Air Force and Israeli strikes in Syria. Now, obviously, if you talk about an all-out war, there is a likelihood of Russia joining through Syria. That's definitely an option. I mean, they have the Tartus over there. They have many forces in Syria. And if it escalates to an all-out war, that's something that can definitely happen, but we're still not there yet. The second topic I wanted to talk to you about is the developments on the ground in Gaza. Now, we're constantly seeing, like I stated previously, but with every day that goes by, we are seeing more sophistication and attacks from the Palestinian resistance. Like, they're roasting the bulldozers and the tanks of Israel. Today we've seen videos of 10 Israeli tanks being attacked by the Palestinian resistance movements. One of them was through a shuwav explosive device. Shuwav means like a flame or a blaze. It's produced by the Palestinian resistance in Gaza, alongside many other things, by the way, like the Yassin RPG, their rockets, some of their snipers. So it showed a Palestinian fighter going from underground in an area that was completely bulldozed. So Israel thought we'll take over a layer of the ground so that we can attack and potentially destroy some of the tunnels, right? In a destroyed area, this guy pops up out of nowhere. He puts the shuwav device on the tank, and it's wired. It's not like it's wireless. He puts it on, he goes back. No one shoots at him. It's as if they don't see him. It's as if they're really fighting ghosts. And this is very common, by the way. It's very important to highlight. Many of these people who are attacking Israel in Gaza, the Palestinian fighters, it's as if Israel is not seeing them. Like, you'll see in many cases, they're in front of a tank. The tank is directing them, okay? And the tank has a 360 view. They can rotate and see whatever's happening. It's as if they're not seeing them. They'll go there, they'll either launch an RPG at them or plant an explosive device, run away, and explode it. And he exploded it that way, alongside many other tanks in Gaza. We've seen a confirmation also from Sarai al-Quds, which is the armed wing of the PIJ, the second largest armed group in Gaza. They launched dozens of rockets on the Asqalan area and the area surrounding Gaza. And Al-Qassam brigades last evening posted a video of them launching an evening rocket launch at Israel, which again signals that their military capabilities are fine, and as a matter of fact, getting even more sophisticated, and they're introducing more new weapons to the battle, especially when it comes to the anti-aircraft missiles and the thermal handheld missiles that they attack tanks in or other Israeli vehicles or other targets in Gaza. So they clearly have a channel of weapons coming in, and they're getting more sophisticated by the day. I mean, we've had many Israeli reports previously about how they're still passing expertise from one place to another. So they're learning from the battles in the north, for example. They're sending it to the south and vice versa. And also, they're present in every single place. Every single part of Gaza, we see videos recorded from the Palestinian resistance day by day, dated, verified, with confirmed casualties from the Israeli side. So you're talking about the Palestinian resistance being control of its own activities. Their activities haven't been affected by what Israel's doing, and they're in complete coordination with all of the groups that are fighting. I mean, if someone misses something here, they'll contact another group from another part to let them know that a group of Israeli tanks or soldiers or whatever unit is coming. Attack them, take them down. This is what we're seeing at the moment, and these were the latest things from the ground. And the highlight was really this guy who planted an explosive device on the Israeli tank. And I mean, we're seeing stuff that you literally don't see in action movies. Seriously, I think what's happening in Gaza will probably be taught in military academies in the future, like many great battles of the past. But what's happening, obviously you're not going to hear about it in mainstream media because they're not interested in showing you what's actually happening, especially with Israel's military humiliation. But that's what's happening. On the other hand, obviously, Israel is continuing the massacres against the civilians. It's not like they're stopping. They're constantly bombing civilians. Yesterday, they reported about 100 Palestinians were killed and many were wounded as well. So they're still punishing the civil population, but they can't do anything about the resistance. And they're still being arrogant about it, saying that they want to demolish the Hamas, they want to continue the war until the end. You had Benjamin Netanyahu saying we're still not even nearing the end. And it was repeated as well by the military chief that it's going to be a very long war, although they have disagreements about the objectives of the war. Now, this is coming with more talks about increasing negotiations and talks between the Palestinian resistance and Egypt, like Hamas was in Egypt again for the second time in just under 10 days. And they're probably discussing the potential of reaching a ceasefire and a prisoner swap, but the Palestinian resistance stance is still as firm as it was ever since Israel broke the temporary ceasefire, which is we won't have any negotiations with you, we won't talk to you unless there's a complete ceasefire. And Hamas even added Israel is going to need to withdraw to not just a complete ceasefire and a halt, a complete stop of the Israeli attack in Gaza. You need to also withdraw, and there's talks about them continuing afterwards to control Gaza. So Israel is in a really tough situation when it comes to this, especially with the increased division inside Israeli society and inside Israel leadership, which leads me to the main point that I wanted to talk about. Yet again, Israel killed one of its hostages in Gaza. So a spokesperson for the Kata'ib Abu Ali Mustafa brigades, the armed wing of the PFLP, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. For those of you who are unaware, it's important to put things into context. PFLP is a leftist, Marxist, Leninist organization. They call for one secular democratic state across all Palestine. Their founder was a man named George Habash. George Habash and his family, they were expelled from Lod in Hebrew, which was occupied in 1948 during what was called the Death March. It was one of the biggest expulsions of people, close to the number of the people who were expelled from Haifa. Approximately 70,000 people were expelled from their homes during the Israeli Plan Dalet implementation of the Zionist terrorist organizations prior to the establishment of the State of Israel. And funny enough, the person who later on turned into a peace prime minister, Yitzhak Rabin, he was in charge of one of those expulsions back then. So he was one of those people. They obviously had their disagreements with the PLO at many points. And Abu Ali Mustafa was one of their leaders who Israel assassinated in 2001. Their current leader, his name is Ahmad Saadat, and he is in Israeli prison. Hamas tried to release him during the Gilad Shalit swap in 2011, but they failed to do so because Israel persisted that they're not going to release very popular names from people who belong to other Palestinian groups because they didn't want to give Hamas more credit than necessary, according to Israel. And obviously it took them 5 years to reach that deal, and Hamas eventually had to implement it without Ahmad Saadat, who I think will most likely, there's a very big likelihood of him being released from prison once there is an agreement, if we reach that stage. of a prisoner swap, an all-out prisoner swap between Hamas and the Palestinian resistance movements and Israel. So it's important to say these things because you need to know the context. Like I previously spoke about the Hamas leaders, how they come from families who were expelled from their homes in 1948, how these people saw massacres in their lives when they were very young. It's important for everyone to know these things when you talk about the conflict, because you need to know the motives of these people and their background to establish a reason and a logic and answer why they're doing what they're doing. It's not like it's coming out of nowhere, and obviously many people are seeing that at the moment, but it's still, from my perspective, in my opinion, very important to highlight these things when you talk about them. So Kataib Abu Ali Mustafa in Gaza, so they're one of the smaller armed groups who are secular in Gaza. I mean, it's led by Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, who are very much on an Islamic way, and their path is very clear from that perspective. They also have battles against Israel, and they participated in the 7th of October attacks, and they had one Israeli captive with them. Now, apparently, the spokesperson said that a special unit from Israel came and attacked the place. The resistance fighters from the PFLP, they shot them and they took them, most of them, down, and they had casualties with them. They didn't confirm the number of deaths, but they failed to take the Israeli prisoners. So what Israel did is, with their ground invasions and ground operations or special operations, they have air cover. They had air cover, and to cover up them withdrawing and taking up the special unit and protecting themselves, they also targeted the place that this hostage was in. Now, I think this might be deliberate, by the way, because they thought, okay, we haven't rescued him, let's bomb him. Because they obviously still are looking for a sign of victory, a trophy, something to tell their people, look, there's some sort of progress, because, you know, they're spreading lies now. You know, Sinwar's shoe, an AI-generated image of a IDF, you know, all of this nonsense. So they need something, but they can't get it. Even with the smaller Palestinian resistance groups who are less well-equipped than the big ones. I mean, the PFLP, Kataib Abu Ali Mustafa, brigades, they're very small in Gaza, yet Israel's failing with them, which just shows how much these people are trained, who are fighting Israel, and how much this army is a bunch of amateurs who don't know what the hell they're doing, who are scared to go forward, who have so much division and unwillingness to fight. They're in such a failure mode, and they're being obliterated by some of the most humbly equipped groups in Gaza. It's a total humiliation. And to add to that, what the PFLP did, they actually published the image of the person. They said because they killed him, we're going to publish his image to the family so that they can see him and see what Israel's done. And by the way, they didn't have many statements previously, the PFLP, especially their armed wing, Abu Ali Mustafa brigades, Kataib Abu Ali Mustafa. But this time it was a big event, and they had to have like a press release. There was a video recorded by their spokesperson, and they obviously published it with the image of the Israeli who Israel killed yet again. So you're talking about approximately 70 Israeli hostages in Gaza killed by Israel. This it proves everything that previously we stated, and the Israeli witness statement that they bombed them when they were held by the Palestinian resistance movements, those who were released, the Israeli statements from the 7th of October that Israel was attacking and the civilians were killed through crossfire, and the massacre at the festival when the Israeli helicopters started bombing them, bombing the living daylight out of them. This just proves how much Israel does not care about any of its hostages. It's like a death machine killing everything in its way, and they don't want to pay any price for their massive failure on the 7th of October. And this highlights again their massive campaign, their massive failure in Gaza, and the Palestinian resistance is showing day by day that they're getting even more sophisticated and bringing Israel more hell to what they're doing in Gaza. So these were the main things that I wanted to talk to you about today. I hope I added some beneficial information for you and that you enjoyed this video, and I'll hopefully speak to you soon in the next video. Take care.